Hi everyone, this is Nicole Doucette, also known as Super Smash Ho on the track, and I'm the producer and director of this documentary series. This is the behind the scenes episode. So I primarily wanted to do this episode because there were so many people who helped with this series from the beginning stages up until the end. It was absolutely not possible for me to do this on my own, and I am so thankful for all of the support that I received throughout this process. So I wanted to take time to recognize some of the folks who did contribute and what they contributed to the series. So this was my first time doing anything like this. I had never picked up a professional camera before undertaking this project. And so the first people I want to thank are Avo Media, who were my partners on this project. I work at Avo Media full-time as a producer, and we're a science communication creative agency. So we do videos, animations, podcasts, pretty much any multimedia related to science. And so this was a bit of a different endeavor for us, being that it was a sports documentary and it was also episodic. And Avo Media did all of the post-production on the series. So all the video editing, the color, scoring the episodes, pretty much everything you've seen on your screen was created by Avo Media, which was amazing because it was not something that I could have done on my own. And I work with 3 other people at Avo Media, Jess, Lucas, and Kobe, who all supported me throughout this process. I had so many questions and they very patiently answered all of them as I was going through this process. And Jess in particular, she did all of the interview filming with me. So set up all the cameras, monitored everything, made sure the lighting looked good. Just really invaluable stuff. And definitely I could not have done this project at all without their support. So thank you so much for partnering with me to make this series come to life. Aside from Avo Media, there were lots of other creative minds at work in this series. You saw at the beginning of all of these episodes, both an intro animation with a skate on fire and some really, really cool theme music to go along with it. So I first wanted to talk about the intro animation, which was done by Bureau of Badass. So you will probably recognize that name because Bureau of Badass was someone that was interviewed in the series, and she did the intro animation as well. So we're going to hear from her now.
My name is Leslie Martin, also known as Bureau of Badass or Bureau of Baddies if we're being more PG about it, and Bubble Fight Club. Bubble Fight Club is my art business where I paint with watercolor soap bubbles like the one behind me, and I fight the stigma around talking about mental health. The first rule of Bubble Fight Club is do talk about mental health. I contributed to this series by creating the intro logo and animation of the skate catching fire and then flying off. The reason I was really passionate about creating the logo for this series is because I was one of the people behind the logo change in 2019 and 2020. We used to have this really awesome logo that I love, but it was for the Terminal City Roller Girls. It had a pinup girl sitting on a wheel that was on fire, and it was really cool, but it wasn't as inclusive as it could be for our non-binary and gender non-conforming pals who are joining the league. And we wanted to have something that was more welcoming and all-encompassing. So we decided to change to the flying skate logo that we use currently, and that was designed by Slam Drunk. And I wanted to combine those 2 logos so we could pay homage to the old one as well as showcasing our new logo and showing how our league is taking off again. My creative process was a lot of modifying our current logo in Illustrator and then animating it in After Effects. So I created the different frames for the flying process in Illustrator originally and then took all that into After Effects and added in the animation in the fire, and then I sent it over to the rest of the crew who incorporated it into the rest of the intro. I went to school for animation originally, and that's how I came to Canada. I got a job in animation up here. But as the animation industry is kind of roller coastery right now, I am taking a step back from that and trying to promote my mental health and bubble art messaging. Um, so you can find my art at bubblefightclub.com, and I would love for you to go check it out. And if you are interested in my mission, please reach out. Thanks.
So going back to the theme music, which accompanies the intro animation, that was done by Ultra Espectro. And I found Ultra Espectro through roller derby because I skate with his wife, Beetlejude. And so we're going to hear from him next. Just for context, Beetlejude is interviewing him, so you'll hear her talking in the clip.
Ultra Spectro is a music project that I started in 2020, and it's noise rock, dream pop, shoegaze, all mixed together there.
What's your creative process to make the opening theme?
Well, I watch a bunch of roller derby videos. I went to a couple of derby bouts, so the energy that I saw there, I was like, I need to do something really energetic, about this, and it's like very like punk rock thing, and also I love the way that it's the community on roller derby is like very welcoming, like everyone fits in there. Doesn't matter if you're athletic, your shape, everybody fits there, and it's the same way that I saw the music. So for me, it's exactly like that. It's all kind of genres, all kind of noises, all kind of sounds fits in Ultra Spectro music. Same, derby, Ultra Spectro. So I don't know. It makes sense for me at least. You can find my music on. You can go to my Bandcamp. So it's bandcamp.com/ultraspectro, or you can go to my Instagram on Ultra Spectro. You can find me there. It's pretty easy. Ultra Espectro. And also, I was doing this because now derby is part of my life, and I really enjoy, that how I find out about roller derby, and to be involved, and the community here it's great. It's amazing. Thank you.
Aside from the creative aspects, we had a number of sponsors on this series who I'm also incredibly grateful for, and they all supported the series in very different ways, so I wanted to take a moment to highlight that. The first sponsor was S1 Helmets, and S1 provided our team with a whole whack of new gear. S1 sponsored helmet covers, a banner, just lots of stuff so we could play derby. Roller derby is really expensive between the skates and all of the safety gear, and finances can be a barrier. So to provide our league with an entire new stash of gear, elbow pads, wrist guards, knee pads was incredibly generous and really allowed a lot of folks in our league to upgrade the gear that they had that wasn't quite as good, and really keeps everyone safe in roller derby, which is, of course, one of our number one concerns. So a huge thank you to S1, to Dan and his team for trusting me and not really knowing anything about me, but trusting that I would put together something that they could be proud of. So thank you so much for your support. I also wanted to say a big thanks to Reliance Insurance, who provided funding for some of the series expenses. This series was a lot of time and we were running on a tight budget. So having funding for those expenses was really, really, really incredible and took a lot of the weight off of my shoulders to be able to make this series happen. So huge thank you. We're going to hear from Jim from Reliance in a second. Just for context, you'll hear Charmangler, who's one of my league mates at TCRD, talking to him in the clip. Charmangler works at Reliance Insurance full-time in her human day job. So that's kind of how there's that connection.
Oh, I'm an insurance guy. I've been in the insurance business for 58 years and I've pretty well done every job in the business. And after about 16 or 17 years, I thought I'd rather do this for myself rather than for other people. So that's when I left the insurance company where I was a VP of marketing on a Friday. And then on a Monday, I was an insurance broker with no clients. So I started basically from scratch, and it was tough for the first 3 years, and then I got a lucky break, and then I've been solely over the last 40 years in this kind of brokerage business, have built up Reliance and the other companies in the group to what it is today.
And I mean, you also you support a lot of like local community organizations. It's a total fluke that one of our practice venues you also sponsor. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Your passion for.
Yeah, I guess I get it from my parents. They were always givers, and one of the things that my dad used to do, we used to take in kids that were in trouble, and they would stay with us and live with us, and we would help them. And my mom and dad always gave to different organizations, and I guess it was just something that I saw and something that I like to do. The world has been good to me, and I like to give back. And so we have an autistic son, as you know, Craigie, and he's not a guy, and he's 46 now, but so we support autism. The PALS, it's an autistic organization. We support them, and then we support other organizations as well. Not as much as we support autism, but you pick something that you feel good about really doing.
And then, how did you contribute to the docuseries?
Well, I guess because you told me about it, and I've always shown we all have lives beyond our jobs, and so when I find out about things like what you do, I'm always I'd like to help, and so we've had opportunities because of the things you do to help your after hours pursuits, and you've helped us with the hats off parade, and so it swings and roundabouts.
So one of the other sponsors of our series was Whips Inc. Whips Inc. is owned by Willow Whips, who you'll also recognize as a name from this series as she was interviewed. And Whips is a tattoo artist in her day job. So one of the things that really surprised me about making this documentary series was copyright. I did not realize that in order to show like pretty much anything on screen, art, books, logos, etc., you have to get a copyright release. Don't worry, the art back there is by my mother-in-law, so I have clearance to show that. But one thing people love to do in roller derby is decorate their helmets. And so when everyone got their new helmets from S1, they really wanted to decorate them with stickers, but I told them they couldn't because it was a copyright thing and I didn't want to have to hunt down all these different brands and try to get, waivers signed so I could show their logos. So Whips actually made a bunch of stickers that she provided to the league, and people were able to put those on their helmets if they wanted. So thank you, Whips, for doing that. And lastly, I want to say a huge thanks to TELUS Story Hive, who provided the initial grant for this series. And really, without their support, none of this would have happened. Thank you so much for trusting that I could make and bring a very cool story to our local community. And I appreciate so much all of the support that you've given me along the way. There are countless other people who supported this series, but I would be quite remiss if I did not thank my partner and husband, Andre Charbonneau. He had to deal with, a lot of, some crying, not too much crying, a little bit of crying, a lot of stress. And he also stepped in to film all of my roller derby games when I was playing. And then I didn't have to choose between playing or getting content for the documentary. Lucky for me, he has a background in journalism, so that at least worked out quite nicely. But I'm very thankful for your support. So thank you for doing all of that. I also want to thank my league, Terminal City, both those in the league currently and those who were part of the league previously, for trusting me with telling their stories and to put this series together. I know it's quite a big leap of faith to just talk to someone and hope that they'll put something together that represents you and represents your story. So I really am so thankful that people trusted me with that. And I appreciate that everyone let me follow them around with cameras and ask for them to do all sorts of strange stuff in front of the camera during the months that we were filming. So thank you so much to everyone for allowing me to tell our story. This was a huge undertaking for me with a small budget and not a lot of time. So again, I'm just so thankful for everyone who helped. Every single person that did something for this series, I am very thankful, and really couldn't have done it without the support of the roller derby community and everyone beyond that. So I'd really love if you could take a few minutes now, if you haven't already seen them in previous episodes, but just to watch the credits and see everyone who did participate in this series. We had so many folks, photographers, videographers, people who helped with animation, with coordination, etc., and the WFTDA, who just allowed us to take a bunch of games from their YouTube channel and show them in our series. There were so many people who provided historic footage as well for me to use that I am incredibly grateful for, because the series would definitely not look and feel the same if we didn't have all of that archival footage. So thank you so much to everyone who provided that. You'll be able to see in the credit who did that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this series, for supporting it. And if you'd like to see what Terminal City is getting up to, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook. We also have our webpage, tcrd.ca, that has a list of our upcoming games. And I hope to see you on the track.